Greetings, YouTube. No one enjoys being judged. Not even if you're involved in some kind of a test where you're there to be judged. Um, and I realized not long ago that beyond the everyday judgment we make, I would like to read this book, I would prefer to eat that for dinner, those very simple, low level personal judgments that we all make every day, um, that I had been wasting energy judging other people. Now, my judgment levels, I guess, have been falling steadily since I was 15 when I first uh, realized that you can't assume that someone else is straight. That's when I had that particular piece of information kind of slapped upside my head like a wet flounder. Um, and as I became more liberal progressive over time, I became less and less and less judgmental. But I still realized that at this point in my development, that I was still being judgmental on some level. So I began to really break down my internal thought processes, really look at what I was thinking when I was looking at other people or thinking about other people. Look at someone. Why are you really holding an opinion about that person's clothing? Why are you holding an opinion about that person's appearance? I mean, really, as deep as I could get at that moment. And while I would have liked to have thought that I had not been a particularly judgmental person up until this stage in my development, apparently I was, because when I stopped doing it, I found it to be liberating. It was like there was a more space inside my head, and I recognized that particular mental process because I've encountered it in the past when my anxiety levels had begun to drop. That every time my anxiety levels would fall to a new point, there would suddenly be more space inside my head because I wasn't occupying my mind with the uselessness of anxiety. And even though I have discovered that there were unique, useful behaviors that I had related to my anxiety, that I could actually use some of those useful behaviors, being aware of your surroundings, things like that, without the accompanying anxiety itself. Very pleasant. So it's still okay to have a low level degree of judgment. I think that person's attractive. I don't find that person attractive. That's fine. But here's the thing. You don't have to judge them on it. Because you do or don't find someone attractive has nothing to do with them. Nothing. And nor should you make judgments about how that person is or thinks or feels or acts until you have evidence about how they think or feel or act. Until you know that person, you don't get to make a judgment call about that person. So it's perfectly okay to decide that, yes, this person is attractive to my eye and this person isn't. You just don't need to spread it. You don't need to point this out, particularly in the negative. I mean, if you think someone looks nice that day and you can do it in a non-creepy manner, no problem. You can tell them that. Hey, that color looks great on you. That's a completely appropriate thing to say. I've said that to men and women. But you don't have to spread rumors that someone is or isn't a nice person because you don't find them attractive. You know what I mean? You don't have to express yourself. I've discovered that my opinion of the world is amazingly enough not as important as I once thought it was. That my opinion of the world is just that, it's mine. And it can stay mine. Now, I'm not done with this process. I imagine I will continue to do this, hopefully becoming less and less judgmental as time goes by. But of course, you reach a certain point of diminishing gains where you're simply diddling with things that are so small that hopefully your growth curve in that particular way is essentially done. Haven't quite got there yet, but I am working on it. Having said all that, I can still be a remarkably shallow human being. But I think we all can. because we all like pretty things, pretty people. We all appreciate how others look, and we all appreciate certain aspects of other human beings that we are always going to appreciate. You might really have a thing for redheaded human beings. Cool. Nothing wrong with that. But let's admit that it is a little on the shallow side. And if I have two pieces of data being presented to me, or identical pieces, a piece of data being presented to me by two different people, and one is a person I find attractive and one is a person I don't, I'm going to want to have that piece of information from the attractive person, particularly when it comes to YouTube or news programs, things like that. And that's shallow. But as long as I'm not judging the person as a human being, I don't see anything wrong with it. Again, we all have different tastes. I can even say I have preferences for people's voices here on YouTube because a lot of the time I'm watching like playthroughs where I never see the person. Not just not to know I not see the person because the person traditionally doesn't show themselves in the video, but there have been certain video content providers on YouTube that never show themselves. Gopher, for example. Many a True Nerd. These are two guys I watch for game playthroughs. But I watch them, or listen to them for the most part, because I'm not actually watching them, because I like their accents. And the fact that neither of them really swears, which I appreciate. I don't, you swear cool, but I don't necessarily want to listen to someone swearing constantly while playing a video game. So even in the context of just listening, I like to listen to a voice I find more attractive than over one that I don't. So even though I am working on being less judgmental, I still have preferences and tastes. I still like pretty people. I still like nice voices. And I think that's okay. In my particular case, I like looking at women. I'm a straight guy. And I identify as a cisgender, heterosexual male man. So I just like looking at women. I always have. I can remember at 5 looking at women because I really liked looking at them and being able to understand that I was looking at women or that I was looking at men. Not necessarily why, but I did understand that I was doing it. I was often very aware of what was going on, or at least trying to be very, very aware of what's going on in my head. So that's my little talk about judgmental, or being judgmental, making judgments. We shouldn't do it, but it's okay to have preferences and tastes. So tell me, where do you stand on the judgment spectrum? Do you think that you need to become less judgmental? Do you think you are okay with being as judgmental as you are now? Do you think that you have traditionally been less judgmental than your average person? Let's talk about judgments. Let's see how we make this call.